pledge allegiance to? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm going to read the first one. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board appoint Deborah Ashburn as Acting Commissioner's Clerk for the regular scheduled Commissioners meeting on March 29th, 2016, and to act as Acting Commissioner's Clerk in the event that Christine Blair, Commissioner's Clerk, is unable or unavailable to perform those duties at any time during the period of March 30th, 2016 through June 5th, 2016, and further appoint Dave Blair, County Administrator, pursuant to RRC 305.30, to act as Acting Commissioner's Clerk in the event that Deborah Ashburn is unable or unavailable to perform those duties during the period of March 30th, 2016 through June 5th, 2016.
Make a motion.
Second.
Aye.
Aye. And thank you, Christine and Deborah, because if I had to read those all the time, we would be stuck.
I'm counting on Debbie staying very healthy during this whole period of time. So I don't have to be a big clerk.
Really good exercise for. All right, so you're up then.
All right. Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting March 22nd, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Do you want me to just vote, or do you want to wait till you call, my
Either way.
Okay.
I'll follow your lead.
name? I was gonna say, it's not that complicated, I just didn't know if you wanted me jumping the gun or not.
Must have been the dark suit memo today.
Yes.
Yes.
Today's financials include a revenue certification for the Water Resources Thompson Wastewater Treatment Plant Project Fund, appropriation transfers from the contingency account for return appropriations to the Sheriff's Office and the Maintenance Department for expenses reimbursed and deposited into the general fund, supplemental appropriation for the Sheriff's 800 Communications Permanent Improvement Fund for the Sally System Replacement Project, cash transfer out of the general fund for first quarter 2016 payroll funding for the Office of Community and Economic Development, contract for Platform Cement Incorporated for excavating services for the Department of Water Resources, the amount of $10,000, travel request for the Auditor's Office, the Office of Community and Economic Development, and the Juvenile Court CASA program, and a payment to Ohio CAT for the purchase of a compact track loader, planer, and trailer for the Engineer's Office in the amount of $79,751.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a question for Joe about the track loader
Yes.
purchase. Did we already own a piece of equipment like that? Didn't we have?
We have an old skid steer, an old case skid steer, but this is actually to replace it, and this one's actually tracked. The other one was
Right, the other
rubber
was a wheel loader, right?
Right, exactly.
So is the old one we're keeping it, or
We're gonna keep it. It's gonna be kind of a backup in the second line.
Okay.
But it's definitely, I think it's 96.
Yeah, it's got mileage on it.
Oh,
I'm not questioning that. I just didn't know whether that was gonna appear down in the
On
backyard
auction.
with a auction price on it.
We'll be able to use it around the yard and stuff for quite a few years. But
You don't need to know.
Did you have an interest in
Well,
that?
mine is an 80, and if I could get up to a 96.
at this point, we plan on using it. It still has some life to it, but not frontline.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So, I vote yes on that.
I don't think we had a motion yet.
Yeah, I made it, you seconded it, then we had
Yes,
discussion.
yes, okay.
So, you
So
vote
the
yes?
Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the resolution 16036, itemizing the financials for the meeting of March 29th, 2016.
I'll make the motion again.
Second.
Yes.
Yes. And we have a Blake Rear used construction equipment.
I have a couple of square feet left with nothing in it. So,
Are you giving kids, young kids rides or something on skid steers?
I have done that.
Probably pulling around on my lawn tractor, you can pull them around on his Cat 5.
Yeah.
One child, one of the teacher's kids, he got a ride on everything. He got to steer the bulldozer, he got to steer everything. Then he asked his mother, he says, how come Mr. Rear has all those toys?
That's, yeah, it's like from the Batman movie. where
She says, how comes he has all those
Why
toys?
does he have all those cool toys?
Tell about a 10-year-old in the back of the tractor that's a little scary.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Okay, I am, for item 4, I'm reporting on the items approved March 25th, which was authorized by resolution 16-005 under direction supervision of the county commissioners, and that resolution was approved on January 11th pursuant to ORC 305.30. There were 3 service contracts, one for the maintenance department, Ohio Machinery Company doing business as Ohio Cat Power Systems, inspections and maintenance on the Safety Center generator, 2-year period not to exceed $20,000. For Water Resources, there were 2 contracts, K. Jones LLC doing business as Liberty Fabricating Welding Services, 2-year period 16 through 17 not to exceed $2,000 or $1,000 each year. And a service contract, Hannon Electric Company, electrical work including motor and blower repairs, year 2016, not to exceed $5,000. No, you don't.
Oh, yeah, you're just
Don't
reporting,
have to say
right?
anything. Now we got Craig, Gina.
Hi, how are you?
Morning.
Morning, everyone.
We haven't seen you for a while.
I know,
You've
little.
just been quiet over there.
That's good. Don't say that.
Those are words you're not allowed to say by us.
Well, I guess first of all, publicly, I just want to thank again the board for the support for our renewal levy, and thank the public. It was just truly amazing result, going back to back and having 70 to 30 results when looking back at the history of even just the support for the renewal. It's obviously the county has really understood, the type of work that we're doing, and we appreciate the board's support. So it's the first time we've had a chance to do that publicly, so I just want to thank you guys for your support and allowing us to have the tools we need to be successful. So that's the first thing, and we're here today to ask the board to approve the resolution that we put forward recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
So if I could just say a couple things about the month. So usually we have a couple activities planned. We have our kickoff reception April 1st, which is Friday. And so you guys have all been invited to attend that. Let us know who's coming. So that's Friday. And then Wear Blue is April 13th, and the state's trying to promote that across the state for everybody to wear blue in support of preventing Child Abuse Prevention Month. And then our annual 5K is April 30th at Henderson. Again, we're hoping it's the last weekend of the month. Maybe this will be the first year we don't have snow at our 5K.
This will be the year.
That we're gonna have snow?
No, we're not.
Oh, that we're not,
So-
right, I'm like, no, we want it to be, right, no snow. So we're hoping that we have a good turnout and nice weather for that.
So is Craig going to be leading the 5K?
Oh, absolutely.
He is.
I'm totally getting all ready for it.
Training.
Yeah.
Training, the
Yeah,
sweatpants,
yeah,
yeah,
we
all
got
that.
the
Headbands, all
Just an
that.
80s gear.
So yeah, so that will be on April 30th, and then just a couple, numbers real quick. We're going to have our pinwheels out again at Junction Auto. They've always been very supportive of us, and so they're allowing us to put the pinwheels out again. They'll be out there this week, and there'll be 476 pinwheels, and that represents one pinwheel for each screened-in case that we've investigated. So it doesn't mean the number of calls we've received, but the ones that we've gone out to investigate. And then they'll be doing their $50 donation for each car
No, I just want, in conjunction with that, and the commissioners, know with our, weekly reports that we have, but with Children's Services, this past year, we've had a lot of turnover, and Gina's division has done an incredible job for a long time in our intake division, so that's the division that receives all the referrals, the 476 that came in, have had only 2 staff members for a long time been in rotation, so that means 2 people have been the calls come in, and just because we don't put brand new social workers just out in the field, it doesn't work that way. Liability wise, they need to be trained, get up to speed, and with Gina's, leadership and just the hard work that she's done in trying to get people in there to support these phone calls, it's been incredible. And now we're on, sort of on track. We have people hired, getting trained to be in a position to get back in rotation. But for a long time, we've had 2 staff members that have been really working these cases, and it's been incredible. And now we're getting to the point where we can see getting some more people in there. So just a huge, the work that they're doing is incredible, and it couldn't be done without their leadership. So.
Oh, yeah? All right, I'll read the resolution. I'm reading today. This is a resolution recognizing April 2016 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas we know that our children are our future and that it will someday fall to them to shape our community, our nation, and the world for all future generations. And whereas, as a community, Geauga County values the importance of providing a safe and supportive environment which families can nurture, love, and parent their children. And whereas children who are loved and nurtured grow to love and nurture others to provide the love and care bestowed upon them to their children, their family, and their community. And whereas while a community, we are blessed to have many wonderful, nurturing families, we must recognize that Geauga County is not immune from the reality that some children in our county endure abuse and neglect. And whereas, as a caring community, we must not only respond to and stop abuse and neglect where it exists, we must also be diligent in our efforts to prevent child abuse and neglect and ensure that our community is aware of its role in recognizing and preventing child abuse and neglect. And whereas Jobs and Family Services, in its role as the Public Children's Agency of Geauga County, will be sponsoring the Pinwheels for Prevention campaign during the month of April, which is recognized nationally as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Therefore, let it be it resolved that the Geauga County Board of County Commissioners recognize April 2016 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Geauga County. Be it further resolved that this resolution becomes part of the permanent record for the Board of Commissioners for Geauga County, Ohio.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute Resolution 16037, recognizing April 2016 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
I'll make the motion again.
Second. Minor typo that we'll have to correct.
We have to vote on it yet, yes.
Yes.
Is there a typo on that?
Yeah, minor one. We can make it. Right, it's a 2000, it says 2015.
Oh.
So-
Thank you very much, I really appreciate it. Sure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for all the good work you guys do.
Do you want me to, are we taking it or
We'll
we'll fix it and then
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can bring it with you on.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
All right, we'll see ya.
The whole thing in here.
What time is the thing on Friday?
2 o'clock.
Oh, over there. At JFS?
Yes, sir.
As a reminder.
If I may, could you advance the building department in front of us? Carmella texted me and said she got held up for the next item. She said she'd be here at 1:15, so. and she
Mike,
was
you want to come up?
Instrumental in that.
Morning, Mike.
Morning, good morning. How are you this morning? Fantastic.
So,
Living the dream.
basically, I'm back again my only time of contracts for the year for commercial plant exam. We subcontract that out to registered architects on an hourly basis. And contract is basically the same as, well, it is the same as it was last year and the year before.
About to do all three at once.
Good idea.
I mean, the only thing that changes is the name of the
Yeah.
architect, right?
Ready for this? The building department is requesting the board approve and execute the agreement with James R. Duber, architect, to perform architectural reviews for commercial and industrial structures for the period March 31st, 2016 through March 31st, 2017, at a rate of $80 per hour. The building department is requesting the board approve and execute the agreement with Richard J. Smith, architect, to perform architectural reviews for commercial and industrial structures for the period March 31st, 2016 through March 31st, 2017, at a rate of $80 per hour. And last, the building department is requesting the board approve and execute the agreement with L. Neil Hoffman, architect, to perform architectural reviews for commercial and industrial structures for the period March 31st, 2016 through March 31st, 2017, at a rate of $80 per hour.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Anybody here for
Yeah.
The county home is requesting the board approve hiring Ruth Stevens to the position of part-time attendant 1504-1 to be effective April 4th, 2016, at a rate of $11.24 per hour with a one-year probationary period.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
And Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Morning. Item 12, item 11 on the agenda is to release the 33% load reduction on all county highways and township roads effective April 15th.
Let's do that individually, go ahead, because we're going to be reviewing other contracts.
The county engineer's office is requesting the board release the 33% load limit reduction on all county highways and township roads to be effective April 15th, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. The next four are related, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all contracts.
Are you up for reading 6 in a row?
Sure.
There you go.
Just break me in.
So, do you want to explain
Uh,
about these?
We had 6 projects that opened for bid. We reviewed the bids and found the corresponding contractors in those bids to be the lowest in bids for the projects. So we're asking for the commissioner's approval and awarding these contracts.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I do have a question, but these are all to be done this year,
Yes, sir.
this
Yeah, this construction season.
construction season year. It
Most
could
of
be
them will be starting May. A few of them will be starting in May. The pavement marking will probably hold off until, midsummer. Usually we wait a little bit longer to get our crack sealing completed, and then we'll stripe the road. So if we crack seal anything, we don't stripe them and then cover it up with crack seal. So
You're gonna replace a culvert bridge on Cuts.
yes, sir.
Will the road be closed during that
During
time?
that period, there'll be a detour posted for that. Yes, sir.
To go around the other, come in from the other way.
Yes, sir.
What about the other roads? They'll all remain open
All the
for
other
the
roads.
paving?
Gingrich Road will also have a detour posted.
Okay.
We'll be closing that. Will actually be shifting the road through the curves to soften the the extent of the curves on that. So we'll be actually closing that road for the portion of the construction and detouring through the village.
So, and just as a side note, I was having a conversation yesterday with some folks about ODOT and state changes and rules and laws and that kind of stuff. When you replace a culvert, are you receiving any more oversight than you have in the past relative to putting in those culverts? Or do you know of any rules that have changed with ODOT? I was told there was a big rule change with ODOT.
No, not that we're aware of. And ODOT might be referencing if they have federal money involved, we would have some other requirements. But we haven't seen that. In fact, whenever ODOT replaces a culvert within the county, they have to get my permission to do it. Just an interesting thing in the statute.
Yeah, they were
So
talking
we
about-
review, so we generally know when they're gonna, but as far as their requirements, it usually has to do with what money's attached to it.
They were talking about more EPA oversight, and so the paperwork or the red tape associated with placing a culvert, and the comment was something as simple as a culvert would require far more complications. So I didn't know if you'd heard anything about that or not, given we're talking about
Right,
culverts.
nothing particular that
Good.
affects us yet. So,
Okay.
that stuff does get more difficult as time goes on.
Well, now that they're navigable waterway, the ditches.
They are defined as a
You know,
navigable
We
waterway.
don't want to interfere with that navigable waterway.
Well, that's true. If you're a duck,
Yeah.
if you're a duck, you could swim up and down that creek.
We have a lot of geese in my neighborhood, they
Yeah.
the ditches, and so.
Have a strong lobby too, that's why. those
Yeah, that's
have-
Absolutely, right. Want to make sure we maintain those navigable waterways. So, oh, these are the past ones that we agreed to. This is all of them? So this is not having to do with, okay. Good, thanks.
Okay, here we go. The County Engineer's Office is requesting the board award the bid to Ronick Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Clay Street, County Highway 37, Sections A and B, in Huntsburg Township in the amount of $636,384.26, as they represented the lowest and best bid. The bid bond submitted shall be held to serve as performance bond for this project. County Engineer's Office is requesting the board award the bid to Ronick Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Gingrich Road, County Highway 34, Section A, in Burton Township in the amount of $299,738.15, as they represented the lowest and best bid. The bid bond submitted shall be held to serve as the performance bond for this project. County Engineer's Office is requesting the board award the bid to Ronick Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Chardon-Windsor Road, County Highway 13, Sections I through J, in Huntsburg Township, in the amount of $518,361.20, as they represented the lowest and best bid. Bid bond submitted shall be held to serve as the performance bond for this project. County Engineer's Office is requesting the board award the bid to Ronick Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Hale Road, County Highway 15, Section A, and Butternut Road, County Highway 21, Section I through J, in Burton Township, in the amount of $430,181.50, as they represented the lowest and best bid. The bid bond submitted shall be held to serve as the performance bond for this project. County Engineer's Office is requesting the board award the bid to CIR Incorporated for the replacement of the Cuts Road Bridge, structure number 72-0.49, in Hamden Township in the amount of $220,392.62, as they represented the lowest and best bid. Bid bond submitted shall be held to serve as the performance bond for this project. County Engineer's Office is requesting the board award the bid to Aero Mark Incorporated for the application of polyester paving markings to various roads in Geauga County year 2016 in the amount of $172,076, as they represented the lowest and best bid. Bid bond submitted shall be held to serve as the performance bond for this project.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
And Commissioner Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Looks like Carmella's here, so. Back to item 6. We're backing up when we passed one.
Sorry to make you get up.
Yeah.
Consider it calisthenics.
Are we doing something that complicated? You had to bring your big,
No, I just brought it just in case. You know, be prepared, right?
Well, that's the annual report, you've read it, right?
I'm going through
Oh,
it
I
right
know.
now as we speak.
This is the annual
No,
report.
It hasn't been issued to me yet. When I get it, then I will read
Yeah, I know you will.
it. That's right.
Sorry about the first week of the meeting started at 9:30, opened my email, I'm like, no, we gotta go now. So I ran out the door. All right.
So you have a report?
So, this is the annual report, we've been submitting for the last, quite a few years now. 7 years? Yeah, so, reports on the 6 minimum control measures that the county is required to complete as part of their NPDES MS4 permit. County holds a consolidated permit, which includes the townships of Chester, Russell, and Anchorage in Geauga County. 6 minimum control measures, we have to report on what we've done to meet those criteria, as well as what we plan on doing in the following year. And if anything we didn't do that we said we were gonna do, we just have to give an explanation of why we didn't do it or what happened that didn't make it work for us. So those are all within here. I don't know if you want to go through each one or not, but it is all contained within here. Backup information, documentation showing all the different sites and sites that we've been inspected, plans we reviewed. All the items are in the appendixes.
So just a quick question. Have we gone up or down? What's the trend line on these kinds of things?
Well,
Are we doing about the same? Are we kind of
pretty much the same type of stuff that we're doing what we need to do. We don't get too crazy, but we're doing what we need to do.
In terms of incidents, are we seeing more incidents, less incidents? Are we're on track? We're not seeing violations?
Not too many. I mean, we have seen violations and we've tried to resolve those, working with people the best we can, contacting them, calling them, doing whatever we can to try to get them to comply without having to go to enforcement measures through the prosecutor's office. Those that have refused to listen to letters, calls, and emails, we will refer to the prosecutor, and usually when they send a letter saying you need to do something, usually they get compliance. So we have not had to go to any type of enforcement action through the prosecutor and the court system yet.
You and I have talked about this in the past,
Yeah.
but since we're here and
Sure.
you're on and up in front of the mic,
Sure.
relative to other counties, we do pretty well, don't we? Or no?
We do.
So.
The good thing is, when this all started back in 2003, a lot of counties really had to ramp up and do some things that they had never been doing in the past. Geauga County, years ago, had the foresight to say, hey, we like what we have, we want to keep what we have. So a lot of the construction site plan review, site inspections, stormwater basin requirements, a lot of that stuff we already had in place, because we were the first county since '79 to install regulations for the county. So for us to make the transition, it was quite simple, if you will. Wasn't real simple, but you know, we try to use what we were doing. As you know, anytime BPA or anyone that puts down regulations and requirements, what we try to do is, let's find all the things we do and let's fit them into their holes. Let's make it fit so that we have to do as little to recreate the wheel as possible. And that's what we've done. The education component, we've always done, so that was something we could check off. Okay, we're meeting our requirements now. The plan reviews, construction site, all those are 2 minimum control measures. So right there, we already had 4 done. And then there's just the last 2 remaining that we just had to just put some little tweaks on and we did that. So.
Do these requirements change very often, annually, or so?
Every time a permit is issued,
Right.
I believe it's a 5-year permit term, they usually try to put some tweaks on it. There's definitely those things. And this year, not this year, but this permit term, one of the things, there are some requirements that we have to get done this year. This is the deadline this year. We have to update our
plan for the county for the permit term. So kind of giving a long-term plan of these are the things we're going to do. That has to be completed by the end of this year. The facility stormwater pollution prevention plans, which we have one, we just have to review it, revise it if necessary, just kind of update it if necessary. And then our current regulations, we've got to make sure they comply with the current Ohio EPA construction general permit regulation. And I've been working on that. There's a few minor tweaks we just got to add to it. One of the things that they've tried to add in previous years was, I know I've talked with you about this at length, they give you a menu of things they want you to accomplish. You can, or a goal of what they want to see. You've got to do some type of, let's just say plan review, you have to have plan reviews done. How you get to that goal is up to you. They leave it open to how you get there. Some of the things that they try to change in the current permit was they want to make you go down this path. And I think it's very important that they keep that path open, that there are multiple ways to achieve the same goal. And because every county is different, every county's way of achieving it will have different results, and that's why we should have different type of paths to follow. So far, they're staying with that mode of obtaining the compliance. When this permit, I'm sorry, I don't remember the date that the permit was issued, but when this last permit was issued, the US EPA, or Geauga, I can't remember which one was which, but one of them wanted to install TMDL requirements in the permit, that you have to obtain these certain, because there's certain TMDLs for certain watersheds. By doing that, it made it that you had to do X, Y, and Z. One of those agencies decided with the economic climate, it wasn't beneficial to do that for the end result, so they removed that requirement in the permit. There's always that little push coming from the federal government or wherever, trying to get those back into the permit. All we have to do is consider that when we come up with what we're going to do to meet the requirements. We just have to consider the TMDLs. We don't have to say we meet all those TMDLs. So when we come up with our plan for this year, it's just a matter of showing that we know what they are, we've considered them, and we feel that the measures that we're taking are going to address them adequately.
So do you, I wasn't planning on going here, but since you're here and
Sorry, I didn't
this
wanna
is an
go there
opportunity for the public, for the public to talk, you and I have been having a conversation about the water quality strategy that NOACA is now working on. And the fear is it will change the dynamic, or it'll change what has been in the past, kind of a free choice thing. So as you have been saying, okay, there's a broad path, as long as we get down, go in the same direction, in the right direction, we get to choose which path we take. That water quality strategy, as you and I have been talking, looks like we're gonna be steered a bit. And so there are some, there's some data and some suggestions that are based on some bad science inside of that starting out strategy and so forth, which is very concerning to me. And so I had a conversation with them at the last water quality strategy meeting in downtown Cleveland. You and I have talked about how we might go after that or talk about that. But did you wanna mention that at all? I mean, there were as an example, there were workshops that
Yeah.
should have involved Geauga County. There wasn't
There were
one
no
workshop in
workshops in
Geauga
Geauga
County.
County.
And so, the fear and the risk is that there's gonna be a broad brush. So the solution is geared toward the big counties, and yet we have to comply, even though we may not have the same
Right.
issue, we may not have the same solution, we may not have
Right.
whatever. And so
I think
there's
the
always a
key,
risk,
the
big
key to the
government.
whole thing, in my opinion, and not that I'm not the end-all answer on this, is I think no matter what the planners or what organization is doing what, they need to make sure that the brush is broad so that there is a menu of selections you can choose. As long as there is a path we can follow that meets the needs that apply to Geauga County, we'll be fine. But if it takes it down a path where, well, that really wouldn't even apply for Geauga County, that's your only option, then
It's
there's a
one
problem.
size fits all kind of a thing.
That becomes the problem.
Yeah, so, okay, good. I don't have anything else, Blake, do you?
No, I'm over here doing arts and crafts.
Great time.
Mr. Claypool,
Sir.
Ed Buckles, Troy Township. As long as we're on water issues, we should bring up some old business having to do with the USGS study that has been
Why don't
delayed.
you hold that until after we get to session? That doesn't relate to what we're talking about here. We'll pass
Relates
this
to
and-
water, but as long as I get it in, I'm happy. Thank you.
Sure.
Soil and Water Conservation District and the county engineer are requesting the board review and acknowledge the Geauga County 2015 Ohio EPA NPDES Small MS4 General Permit Annual Report.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye. Yes.
Aye. Just a parting comment. I always enjoyed coming over to your board meetings. I find it very interesting. You did a very good job.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Wow, Glenn came up.
He's sleeping now. Warren.
Oh, man, that was a nice man. How are we doing today?
Good.
You're gonna let us know.
Oh. We had Colleen, she started working with us, and I guess it just didn't work out for her, so she put in her 2 weeks' notice. She doesn't want to do that, so I'm requesting that be effective Friday, April 8th. She gave us the 2 weeks' notice, which is very helpful for us. And then we'll start advertising for the part-time general communications clerk. This is the person that answers all the phones in the county and does all the mail within the county itself and gets it down to the post office and everything. Gets it all the different departments within the county.
You gonna be able to fill that seat before she leaves?
No, that's all, but we did some changing around in our department, so we've hanging it up there, so we'll be all right for a couple of weeks.
Wanna read them both?
The Maintenance Department is requesting the board accept the resignation of Colleen Craig, part-time general communication clerk, switchboard operator, job number 1912-1, to be effective Friday, April 8th, 2016. And the Maintenance Department is requesting the board grant permission to advertise for the position of part-time general communications clerk, switchboard operator 1912-1. This position will remain posted until filled.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Good morning.
We're gonna set a new rule. Everybody that works for Geauga County has to be Mike. That makes it a whole lot easier.
Yes, it's. Number 20 and 21, both request to hire two part-time drivers. First one's James Ramsey, part-timer, $13.57 an hour, effective next week. And the second one's for Nancy McSweeney. Both of these folks, we interviewed them rigorously. They both have previous experience driving the same type of vehicles that we have, and also previous experience with the general public and seniors, and with folks that we transport.
Okay, we seem to have a question. Does it relate to transit?
Can't hear. Oh, sorry.
Can
Is
you
that thing on?
Pull the mic over.
Yeah, just pull it over and talk.
Numbers 2021, the Transit Department's requesting to hire two part-time drivers, James Ramsey and Nancy McSweeney, effective next Monday, April 4th. Both of these folks have gone through the interview process. Paul, myself, my operations manager, and my driver supervisor. They both have previous experience driving the same types of vehicles we drive, as well as experience working with seniors and the public in general.
The Transit Department is requesting the board approve hiring James Ramsey to the position of part-time transit driver, number 2210-1, to be effective April 4th, 2016, at the rate of $13.57 per hour with a one-year probationary period. Transit Department is requesting the board approve hiring Nancy McSweeney to the position of part-time transit driver 2210-1 to be effective April 4th, 2016, at a rate of $13.57 per hour with a one-year probationary period.
I'll make those motions.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Mike.
This next one's a very minor correction. Kate was promoted to budget officer 2, and we had the rate was correct in 1953. It was just we listed the step as being a 4. It should have been 5. It's just to correct the step, to correct the action.
Okay. Was it? Okay, go ahead.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board amend the motion from March 22nd, 2016, correcting the step that read, approve the promotion of Kate Wade-Breck to the position of Budget Officer 2, number 2204, to be effective March 28, 2016, at a rate of $19.53 per hour, grade 9, step 5, with a 180-day probationary period.
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
And Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. And the next one.
Okay, and the next one, this is for amendment of the motion for summer help, reflective of the fact that we've not changed the summer help rate for a number of years, and there's other programs operating at the same time whose rates exceeded what we've been paying. This is just to move each of the yearly steps up 25 cents an hour. So the first year compensation would be $8.50 per hour, second year $8.75, and $9 for the third year.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board amend the motion from March 15, 2016 to include the compensation that read, grant permission to advertise for summer help, job number 0101, for the approximate period of May 1st, 2016, or the end of the school year, through September 30th, 2016, or at the start of school, whichever comes first, for a maximum of 21 weeks, 840 hours to be worked. This posting will remain posted until all positions are filled, with the compensation to be set at $8.50 per hour the first year, $8.75 per hour the second year, and $9 per hour the third year and subsequent years.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
And Commissioner Claypool?
And do we have anybody from the water department first?
No, he figured you would take care of it.
Yeah, no, Jerry's not over here. We had a situation come up with Mr. McGee that requires him to put on paid administrative leave while we sort out an issue, because he does operate in a safety-sensitive position. So to be fair to him and to maintain safety, I recommend the board just put him on paid administrative leave while we sort this out.
Okay.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve the placement of Callan McGee, maintenance technician, on paid administrative leave effective March 29, 2016, until further notice.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. Okay. Mr. Buckles.
Thank you. I actually have about 3 items of old business to take up. One's just curiosity. The McDonald property that was discussed last time, I thought was going to be resolved today.
We had a conversation with them yesterday, and we've deferred that. We're in the process of trying to work out an arrangement that would accommodate both their interest and our interest. And so that's in process right now, so that was delayed.
All right, thank you. The USGS study on water flow in the community we discussed some weeks back, and again last week. You indicated at that point that perhaps it would be better sometimes to have different test wells than those that are currently being tested. you indicated that water quality wasn't what they were testing for, and that you would be in touch with Ms. Girucci sometime after March 5 when she returned from vacation. I've done some background checking. The current wells cover all townships. They cover all 4 aquifers. They are related in part to topographical configuration for water flow. They're related to some high population density areas. They are coordinated with wells in other counties so that there's close to a 300 well network that measures water flowing out of this county and water flowing into the county. This data goes back to 1996 to 2015, in some cases as far back as 1978. The data has indicated in Middlefield, for example, a drop in water table, in one case 8 feet, in one case 18 feet, which may have influenced Middlefield in their discussion about selling water to the fracking industry. It's also used to identify some elevated arsenic levels in some areas with slow water flow.
Are we going to get to a question? Or are you going to?
You know, it's interesting, just in passing, and I will get to a question, but it's interesting in passing that when you were sitting here and somebody else was sitting there, that wasn't a requirement, but I will get to a question. I just want to lay the background. South Russell used the data to allay fears that of overdevelopment in its area. Others have used it for justifying zoning restrictions. It's identified industrial contamination flow. It's been used to protect drinking water when there was a natural gas invasion in the aquifer in Bainbridge. I guess my questions then are, do you want to change your position, since indeed this does test for water quality? Indeed, the locations are important and are confirmed by USGS. I've discussed it with them as being significant to continue at specific places, particularly over a 30 and 40 year history. And the lady in question is actually in this week, not next week. So are you going to make arrangements to have the meeting that you promised earlier that you suggested?
Okay. First of all, a lot of the information you just put out was distorted. And we can have a conversation about that if you'd like.
It's not distorted, it's part of the official
Ed, let me
record.
finish, please. And it's distorted and incorrect. And so, I'm more than willing to have a conversation with you or discuss what is incorrect. Martha was back yesterday. I have a call in to her to set up a meeting with her and the subject matter experts. Our water quality, or our water department specialist has produced water, all the water testing that's going on in Geauga County. We're going through, at least I'm going through due diligence. I can't speak for Blake, and I'm not going to speak for Ralph, he's not here. But we're trying to make a logical decision regarding this. It is groundwater level testing that is done by these wells.
There
It
is
is no quality testing.
There's
The
quality testing done
Ed,
every
please,
10
let me
years.
finish. The water quality component comes from other testing that's going on, and that's produced in the larger book. The water level testing, which is what these wells are testing for, is produced a result that shows us over 20 years we don't have an issue. The water level change in Middlefield, we don't know what the cause of that is. I've spoken to our subject matter experts. You are not a subject matter expert. I've talked to our subject matter experts. They find that slight change to be immaterial, and I'll let you talk to Dave Sager out of our water, or out of our health department. And so we're doing all of this, or at least I'm doing this, to do due diligence to ensure that the monies that we're spending are giving us a result we can use. In other words, have we produced something that gives us a false sense of security, so that we can make a good decision going forward and determine whether or not the testing we're doing is in fact giving us the answer we want, or are we just going through an exercise, a routine exercise that we do every year, spending money that doesn't give us a good result.
We've been doing
Out
it
of
for
the
40
end of
years.
this, we will have our subject matter experts, including the USGS out of Columbus, who will help us to decide what the go-forward plan should be. Trust me, our water's not going to run out tomorrow. We have a 20-year history that demonstrates we have a very stable aquifer, and
We
it's
have a
very easy to
20-year
see.
history based on the
And
USGS
so,
study that you're not doing.
I'm not going to argue with you. There's a decision process that we're going through, at least from my perspective. I can't speak for Blake on this. But at least from my perspective, I want to make sure that we're producing a result that gives us good information so we can make good informed decisions. And we're not wasting people's tax dollars on something that's not really giving us useful information. We're doing a lot of testing across Geauga County, and I have a report, which is, I've asked for some enhancement on, that shows us the water testing that's going on in Geauga County. We're doing it in Middlefield, we're doing it in South Russell, we're doing it in Chardon. So we have a lot of testing going on, including all the water quality testing going on a regular basis across Geauga County. And so nobody, I mean, I'm on a well, nobody wants, we all want to be able to make good decisions relative to our well water, and we don't want to have any kind of a problems. That is the reason we're going through this, to make sure we're doing, or at least again from my perspective, so that we have convinced or have shown ourselves or proven, and it's a prudent thing to do periodically, to step back and say, is what we're doing a good thing? Or should we change it slightly? Should we put in new well monitors? Should we do active well monitors versus these static well monitors that have to be manually checked? Should we make some sort of a change that gives us confidence that we have, we're doing a good thing? We don't want another Flint. We don't want another situation. And that is because they didn't check their system periodically. We are checking. And that's all we're trying to do, is be prudent with the information we got.
I would give more credence to that analysis had it not been forced upon you by the failure to follow through back in October when all
There was no
study-
failure. Yeah. There was a return phone call that I didn't make to Martha. However, it would immediately picked up on that after the first of the year. And so for you to make these false claims is, I'm just not going to sit here and put up with it.
All right,
And
so
so,
let's move to the second topic of old business, the appointment of Mr. Oros to the NOACA Rural Advisory Board. An individual wrote a letter objecting.
your wife, right?
Huh?
Your wife?
She did indeed.
Your wife, okay.
And I have not brought up the fact that your wife works for the petrochemical industry, so.
She does not work for the petroleum. That's
Close
another
enough.
lie.
But in any event, Mr. Oros was nominated by you to that board, and you've written a letter indicating that she engaged in libel. I think you probably ought to check with counsel about how difficult it is to libel a public position or a nomination to a public
He's not a
position.
public official. He's an employee of the board.
He's a public official. He's been nominated to a public position. In doing so, you engaged in the usual demagoguery of not referring to the credentials of Mr. Oros, but rather to the credentials of the letter writer, demeaning 2 degrees from a local university and continuing continuing education in her field, and 20 years of teaching at the college and graduate school level. To attack a citizen who's trying to take part in the public discussion on the basis of credentials and demean those credentials, even to attack a citizen for taking part in a public discussion, is reprehensible. And you owe her an apology. Are you going to issue an apology?
I
That's my
absolutely
question.
will not. If you read the editorial into the paper for everybody to read, I do not have your wife's resume. All I have is her comment in the past editorial claiming she had 2 certificates, and she's a biologist. John
Maybe.
Oros,
Then you
don't
need-
interrupt me. I
You
let
need to
you
do a little
speak without
further
interruption.
research
Mr.
before you
Buckles,
accuse people
Mr.
of
Buckles,
not
do you want to
having
continue this? If so, then you will allow me to speak. If not, then we'll end this conversation right now. So you're going to allow me to speak. Mr. Oros has a 22-year history in the park system as a conservationist.
Most
I
of it
put
is
his
mowing
no,
grass.
no. I provided his credentials. The vast majority of the editorial that I wrote was his credentials, not any comment to your wife. I simply commented the fact that how could you have somebody with 2 certificates, that's her claim, counter somebody with 22 years of history in our park system who has won awards for his conservation efforts. That was all that I put out there. I'll let the public judge. So I will not apologize because the claims that your wife made were false and fallacious, and I found them, it was sad that she had done that, because he is responsible to the board. the board makes decisions relative to that parks. To claim John Orles can make these decisions unilaterally is simply wrong and
He
incorrect.
doesn't, the judge makes the decisions.
The board is responsible for the parks, not John Orles. John Orles works for the board. And so, there's no apology coming from me, because I didn't say anything that was inappropriate or inaccurate. So, with that.
Not in relation to that, but I do have something I want to bring up in public session.
Sure.
Not to necessarily pile on you, Skip, but word usage is not my specialty. But you, in response to the first question of this gentleman, which was about the McDonald Farm, in which you said we had conversations with them. No, you had conversations with them. We, if that is to imply that it was the commissioners, is inaccurate. You had conversations with these folks with regard to their last week's issue. I wouldn't bring that up because you were careful this morning to say on the water quality issue that you clarified that it was your decision, not necessarily my decision or Ralph's decision or anything else, but I received a letter, as you did, from the Bainbridge Township people, and when I read it, I was perplexed by some of the statements that are in here. They certainly don't, this doesn't include me in these statements. I can't speak if you and Ralph had a conversation out of session, but since Commissioner Claypool advised that your board has been examining various options for several months now, trustees inquired as to whether you could share with us what you've learned. I may have missed a day, but I don't remember our board examining these things as a board, as we meet in public session. Outside of sunshine law things or conversations, I know that I've never had them. There are numerous references in this three-page letter that talk about issues that you represent, that we have done this, and if that's continues, I'm going to get very upset. But this is I didn't see, this letter was written last Monday, and I got a copy of it yesterday. I don't know where it was, but I know you're going to meet with them again, or you're supposed to meet with them again. I'd really prefer if you didn't, if you spoke for yourself. We appreciate and commend the commissioners, that's plural, for fully vetting cost-effective ways to maintain services important to our residents. You're the one, not me. So I don't want to be, and we never took a vote, so I'm not sure why you use a plural and present facts as though it was the commissioners.
Well,
Many of these fights are yours alone. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, let me address that. First of all, I have brought this up many times in session, making the board aware of what's going on in the background. I've never hidden this from the board. I've discussed it, brought it up, said, hey, this is what's going on, so on and so forth. In addition to that, and Dave can attest to this, this item can be brought up by any board member on this board. The discussion about the water quality testing came up last year. Should we bring it to the board? I was questioned individually, independently, what do you think? And I said I'd prefer to look at it before I vote on it. Apparently, there was some commonality in that thought because it never came before the board. And so as I always do, or I try to do the best of my ability, do due diligence on these things. Started a conversation with the USGS, started a conversation with planning, with the water department, with our health department, and so on and so forth. I have never hidden that from anybody. I can't account for the comments made in that letter. And I don't think that they accurately reflect the comments that were made at one meeting that I attended. I believe that I worked really hard to try and ensure that everybody understands that my decisions are my decisions. They're unilateral and don't represent the board. Anytime I'm in any kind of a session, and again, Dave knows this because he can attest to this, anytime I'm conversing with people, I represent things as my opinion, not the board's opinion. And so my comments to that committee that night were that this is where I was wanting to go, this was the work that was being done. But in essence, it is the board. You could have brought it up, you could have brought it to the table and said, let's have a vote on this. We would have voted yes, no, whatever, but it never came to this board because the board never elected, and we make decisions as, so you guys know, Dave has individual conversations with us to determine where we are on issues of any type, and then they either come for deliberation or don't come for deliberation based on what the general feeling is. And so, in essence, I don't think there was anything that reflects the unreality. And again, you have every opportunity to bring things to the board. I'm pretty out there with the things that I think and I feel, and I bring them to the board. I brought up the water quality strategy. I bring up stuff that's going on with DAC and WAC all the time. I bring stuff into this board. I put it on the table and say, this is what's going on for awareness sake. That's a practice that I have, and it was the same thing with this. If you have an issue with that, we can certainly talk about it. And determine if there's a different direction you'd like to take. And from my perspective, this is an issue that we need to step back and take a look at, get some homework on, and I'm in the process of doing that, to get enough information so that I'm confident that the decision that I'm making for those people who elected me is the best decision I can based on the best information that I have.
Well, if you're gonna say that you're confident and it's the decision you make, that's completely within your right. But as early as, or as late as, 10 minutes ago, you implied that we, I don't know who the we is, made a decision on the McDonald farm. We did not have any conversation on it outside of this table, and that's all I started this with word usage. If you made a decision, or you and Ralph made a decision, I'm unaware of that.
No, the we being McDonald's and myself had a conversation yesterday. The we being the McDonald's and I agreed that could be deferred. Now, that's not to say that the whole board, you could have brought it up again. The we being, I had a conversation with Nate McDonald yesterday and said, look, I'm probably gonna vote no on this because of X, Y, and Z, and I'd like to suggest a different alternative to you. And he agreed with that alternative. I said, you will probably get Blake's positive vote on this. I have no idea where Ralph's gonna vote on this, but based on the past conversation, I'm thinking he might vote against you. Now, he's not gonna be there tomorrow. So if it's Blake and me, then it'll go down. And so the we is me and Nate discussing where we could go forward with this and what they're thinking on this. And I will tell you, just for the sake of the audience here, so that you are fully aware. I mean, I'm not allowed to talk to Blake outside of this meeting. So
That's why we're having this conversation
right.
here.
So I can't
not
share
your
the
office.
things, the individual, each of us has to individually make the best decisions we can. And I've had multiple conversations with the McDonald's, both of the brothers, Pete and Nate, and Gary and Gordon. And I have to do that individually because we can't, unless it's in this session, we can't have this conversation together. And so the conversation that I had with Nate, I had suggested, after talking to the Department of Agriculture and getting educated and informed about what that program is all about, whether or not it would be doable to have that program transferred. Geauga County can sponsor. We have 3 agricultural easements today in Geauga County, 2 of which Geauga County manage, 1 of which is managed by the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. Since we've already managing 2 agricultural easements today in Geauga County, and I'm not comfortable with the non-transparent nature of Western Reserve Land Conservancy, I had suggested that maybe we could transfer this effort to meet the deadline to Geauga County, and then we'll complete it. I'm willing to compromise. I don't like conservation easements, and I can give you all of the various reasons why, but I was willing to compromise with McDonald's if we could convert that to a Geauga County effort versus a Western Reserve Land Conservancy effort. The other option, an alternative that was, I suggested to them yesterday, was, and in the fall, we can start the cycle all over again. We, Geauga County, can resubmit this application in the fall and then go through the whole process, and then they can get approved. There is no burning bush. This is not about, the farm is not gonna stop being a farm tomorrow. It's gonna be farmed from now through their kids' lifetime, according to them. This is about the money. They want the dollars from the agriculture department to take care of a personal issue that they've got. And so, while I have issues with that, again, recognizing that they're nice people and want to be able to cooperate with them to the extent that we can. I offered those suggestions to them to say, look, I'll work this compromise with you. I don't like the Western Reserve Land Conservancy, but there's some options and alternatives we might consider. They agreed to that. And so that was the we that I think I was referring to. I mean, it's sometimes hard in these conversations, as you might say. I'm a human being. I misspeak sometimes. I am passionate and outspoken, and so I get myself into a trap sometimes. I'm not going to make excuses for that. I'm a human being. But with that said, that was the we, Blake, that I was intending to infer, not that we. I'm very cautious, or I try really hard, even though I'd like to be the county executive, to not be acting like the county executive. So with that said, I hope that answers your questions.
It's all right. I just, going forward, I would really appreciate it if the implication is that the commissioners did something or felt some way about it or whatever. It would be concerning something that we did act on, we plural,
Well, and
at this table, not the, in February 16th, 2016, Commissioner Claypool appeared on your behalf.
no, I didn't.
No, he didn't. No, I'm telling you, I understand you're not responsible for the words that are in this
I'm
letter.
not responsible for
And
that. And I
I,
plan on responding to that letter.
well, I'm just saying that when I read that, I'm gonna go, well, if somebody reads this,
Mhm.
one could come to an incorrect conclusion that I violated the Sunshine Law. And I just want to make it clear that I wasn't a part of any violation of that, and that reading documents, unless it happens at this table, I haven't been a part of anything, up to and including our clandestine meeting in the parking lot.
Oh, the alleged.
Yeah, yeah,
Be careful of your words.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Well,
Oh, God, don't go there.
it wasn't alleged. I thought if I remember, the charge was that we did it.
That was the allegation.
Yeah, I think that was the charge. We had a clandestine meeting walking around in an open parking lot, which was interesting. Other than that, if you're done, I'm done. We got people out there waiting for us, I think.
Any other questions? If not,
I move to adjourn.
second.
Have to be in the right car, though.
It's true.
No. Okay, we're on.
Okay. Starts 11.
Open the session at 11:12. And so, whose nickel is this?
Start it off if I might. So it's good seeing you all, and thanks for welcoming us into your county. Appreciate the time. Just wanted to start off with a little bit of CCO business and get some feedback and have a moment to chat with all of you. So the first thing I want to do is remind you that we have a legislative reception coming up April 13th. So we hope to see you there, and that's with the Ohio Council of County Officials. And it's a good chance to speak with your legislators and visit with your peers, and it's usually a really good event, so we hope to see you there. And something else I'd like to put on your calendar, May 2nd is our opiate symposium, strategies and solutions. So we've had a group of your peer commissioners on the planning committee to put together a really good program for you all focusing on some areas that I know are of interest to you, strategies around jails and the opiate epidemic.
We're excited about that one.
And
Is this open to just commissioners or?
commissioners and any staff that you would like to send.
Other commissioner staff only? We couldn't necessarily bring one of the other county officials.
Other elected officials.
Sheriff?
Yeah, we'll
auditor.
make it work for you. I know that some of them are gonna be there. There's also a track going on that day for people who are part of drug task forces. So we can follow up, and if there's somebody else you want to bring, we'll happily accommodate them.
Yeah, I don't know if our Muni Court Judge, Terry Stopeka, there's an opiate task force, which is pretty much, it's dormant to some degree now. It's more informational and so on, practices and what's going on. I can't speak for her, but I wonder if she'd be interested in attending that, but she's our judge up here on this Muni Court judge.
Yeah, if the judge isn't already going as part of the drug task force.
That's
running
I didn't want to
concurrently.
mention it and say, oh, by the way, you're not invited.
No, certainly we'd be happy to allow the judge to participate as a guest of yours. That's completely fine.
Yeah,
So-
it may be something that's redundant to her. I'm sure she'll have an interest in it, but maybe she could be a presenter, I don't know.
There's a packet on each of us that were put on there yesterday of all the information on this symposium.
Okay, thank you.
So in addition to jails, there's also a track on child protective services, because we know there's been a lot of counties talking about the impact to the number of kids in custody as a correlation to the opiate epidemic as well. There's a training session on specialty dockets and how some counties are using those specialty dockets to try to address the problem, as well as some prevention, trying to get upstream to the problem, and what are some of the prevention strategies that your peers and some others are using.
You make
as
it
well.
sound so fun.
Well, there's a, you know, with the tragedy that has come with a lot of the opiate epidemic, it impacts the county in so many ways, as you know. So our president this year, Doug Corcoran from Ross County, wanted to make sure that we were trying to put some strategies and solutions in front of you all and give you a chance to come together and network as well. It's not a fun topic per se, but certainly a budgetarily and socially impactful one that a lot of people are dealing with. So there's also a state conference the next day on May 3rd, and judges are invited to that training as well. There's some free continuing education for lawyers that's associated with that as well, and so it has a lot of additional training that also fits well if you want to stay and be part of that statewide training too. So encourage you to participate if you can. Hope to see you there. A couple of other things that we're working on. One is trying to lay the groundwork with our legislature around the need to replace elections equipment. So right now, the boards of elections and the county have to comply with the state requirements for elections and elections equipment, and that equipment is getting older. So most of that equipment was paid for through the Help America Voting Act over a decade ago. And so the next round of equipment needs to be purchased soon, and the federal government is no longer putting a large.
Isn't there a program in place already where we're in 85% reimbursement?
That's for poll books. So this
Poll
is
books only.
electronic poll books. So that's only for the electronic poll book component, but we're trying to
For
say
the
that's a great
machines.
model to replace machines.
Okay.
So let's use
Okay.
that template that was created for purchasing electronic poll books on a state-local partnership to fund the elections equipment itself.
Haven't we already got something in the works on that, Dave? It seemed to
That's
me
what I'm
that we already talked to our Board of Elections. We've
On
already
the
had-
poll books, yeah.
Well, I thought we'd already started talking to them about the elections, or the voting equipment also. 'Cause I remember having a conversation with, who was it,
Debbie?
about fact, she came over to the office and we were talking about
Okay.
the age of her equipment, and
Yeah.
we've got great equipment, by the
Yeah.
way.
Well, I think Robbie Halford was still here at the time when she came over, and I was under the impression that it was on the machines. Because the poll books are $1,000 a piece, and we
Right.
need $78,000 worth, you know, so an 85% reimbursement is important, but it's not what would knock your eyes back, you know. The machines were $10,000 a piece or something, and you need 780,000 of them,
Right.
you know, 78 machines, and you probably need 80, probably need at least 2 spares.
For the precincts, yep.
You know, 85% of that is a number that would really get your attention.
Yeah, our
So
rough
I
estimates.
may have it wrong, or it was misrepresented to me or whatever, I'm not sure, but I thought it was, you know, more money.
Yeah. It's always more money.
Yeah, so, statewide, it's estimated to be over $100 million to buy the next generation of elections equipment. That will need to be done before we get to the 2020 presidential.
How much?
Over $100 million statewide. It was $115 million when we bought it with the Help America Voting Act, or somewhere around there, and most of that was provided with federal dollars at the time.
We've got great equipment. We just replaced the little card reader in there so that they could use a different device in there. We just retrofit those. Our little form reader. Are you familiar with? I don't know how the rest of the counties do it. We have those little. fill
We
out
have
a
scanners.
form,
Yes,
scan it in.
scanners, yeah.
It is fantastic.
Yeah.
We have, there's 2 big systems out there, 2 different types, so the touch.
Are they trying to standardize, or are we gonna be?
At this point, the way that we've had conversations with the Secretary of State, there's no desire to steer away from that. The way we're recommending is very similar to what was done with the poll books, where the State Department of Administrative Services would issue the RFPs so that we can leverage purchasing power, and counties would then sign up for which of those vendors fit their needs, so that we are trying to purchase as prudently as possible, and trying to have some of that groundwork done on the RFPs in advance of counties needing to actually buy it.
I'd love to make a joke right now, but since this is being recorded, I won't.
We have the laugh track set up.
Dang these public meetings.
So, those are just a few things that are going on at CCAO on the policy side. So, we'll probably have a lot more to talk about once the legislature returns. And of course, the lame duck session will probably be busy. But, do you have any comments, suggestions, questions as it relates to CCAO overall before we talk service club?
I'd like to have 5 minutes of your time before you leave.
Sure.
You might wanna set aside an hour for that.
Thanks for that, Blake. Let's just pile on.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I don't know if any of you have had a chance to spend some time with Keith Glosser. He's taken over as Managing Director of Operations at CCAO. So one of his major roles with our organization is to help with the service corps programs, all the ways that our board tells us to try to leverage purchasing power to save counties money. And that takes various forms, and today we were wanting to hone in on a specific program, which is our energy program, and Palmer Energy is our energy partner. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves and go down the line. And
Yeah, Kirk Mazurek. For Palmer Energy, I'm one of the owners of Palmer and the lead person that works on all the county work. So I get to travel out around all 88 counties, talking in these type of sessions on a weekly basis.
I'm Bob Snavely. I work for Kirk. I'm an account rep, and I take care of about 18 counties in Ohio for the energy program.
so with that, if we want to talk a little bit about.
Sure. Last year, Geauga, as you're already aware of, chose to participate in the electricity program. And at that point, we have gone out for RFP a number of different times. And this program that you're participating in, not formally yet, but with the CCAO, you signed those agreements, has been extraordinarily successful for the counties that are participating in the state. We're right around 60 counties that are actively buying third-party electric supplies through various suppliers. And everything on this program is based upon the RFP process, and that's a very important part of it to make sure that you are all getting the best prices out there. Now, even though we've RFP'd out a few times, we have not actually signed an agreement, you actually signed it, acting as you right now, with the suppliers at this particular point. There's been a little bit of a, I don't want to say disconnect, but we've been trying to work with your prosecutor to get those agreements approved so that then they can get across to your desk to provide the savings. And to give you an idea of what we're talking about monetarily here is this latest RFP is right around $6,000 a month in savings for Geauga County versus what you're paying right now. So it's not a small amount of money, obviously. It's a significant amount of money that can be saved for the county to go through this. Coincidentally, we have a meeting. Glenn's been great to work with. We've been working with him through this whole process, Bill's and all the other, acting as kind of the liaison between the prosecutors and us on this. He set up a meeting for 1 o'clock this afternoon. I believe as the administrator and the prosecutor yourself will be in that meeting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we're going to go over this information in a lot more detail. But what we really need to do is just come down to grips and get everybody on the same page. At this point, I think some of the responses on those agreements are realistic. You know, obviously, let's be out throughout indemnification. It's a standard deal. And you have to remember something. When you're dealing with these multi-billion-dollar-a-year corporations, they have a standard form agreement. Until you're ready to sign it, they don't change things such as indemnification. That's very easy to get, tossed out of these agreements. It's not a big deal. Other issues are not a big deal, or are a big deal to get tossed out. And those are the issues that we really need to work with your prosecutor on to allow, it's her, to understand why these suppliers need these. And if you ask Suzanne, I'm very rarely on the side of suppliers in any of these instances, but when it comes down to their payment and them providing a service to you and them having some kind of agreement in the background saying that, yes, you'll pay us for providing these services to you, I believe they're in the right on that. And those are the issues that we really need to address today. But the latest RFP comes back as around 6,000 savings per month. And where the process goes for at this point is what we would do is work out a few of the agreements with the prosecutor so that once we have a refresh date, electricity is a little bit different than most other products you're buying. That price is good for 1 day, and that's it. And when you're good for that 1 day, you sign on that day, and if you don't sign on that day, you're got to play the game again on another day. So what we have been doing in other counties, and it's worked very well, albeit it can be a little stressful in the timing of everything, is we get a few of the agreements approved by the prosecutors before that refresh date. And then we come out and meet with you on that refresh date, see here's the final, these agreements have been approved, they're signed off on already. This needs to be signed and given to us by 2 o'clock so we can get it to suppliers by 3, 4 o'clock that day in order to lock in those prices. And that's really, again, the important part, and there's nothing that I can do to control that. The market in electricity can dramatically change, minute by minute, but for the most part can change. And suppliers, I guess theoretically you could go on a longer basis for when those can be signed in, but you won't get the best price. The best way to get you the best possible savings is to play it that way, go through the RFP refresh process and go from that perspective.
How do you handle that from a nuts and bolts issue where you may have a window of 4 or 5 days that you're gonna, on your RFP, if I understand what you're saying, you're gonna get a quote for this day, Monday, a quote for Tuesday, a quote for...
No, it's a little bit different than that.
Okay.
What really happens is, so we put out a preliminary RFP and get the responses back. We come to you with a response that these 3 or 4 suppliers, we need to get these agreements okayed by your prosecutor so that you can sign them on the day. Or, Glenn, did you mention that, does the administrator now have the authority to sign those agreements? Okay, so.
That went through sessions.
Right, which is
Okay,
actually
so
much
you-
easier.
So we
pick out
don't
the
have
day.
to
No, you've
comply
already
with sunshine
authorized.
law regulations,
Right.
and so-and-so's on vacation, or somebody,
He's already approved to sign them.
that's all handled.
But in the case of this agreement, how the refresh date works, then we'll have all these the RFP results for the refresh will be due late in the morning on that day. And around 1 o'clock, we'll have a meeting with you with those results. It takes us a little bit of time to put together, here's all the results, we need to put them all together and, you know, compare apples to apples on what's coming out there. And then at that meeting, you know, if you agree with what our recommendations are on this particular thing and you go through all the numbers, you'll say, yes, let's do this, sign on the dotted line, we'll get it PDF'd over to that supplier immediately. And again, if you don't do that day, you have to do the whole
Yeah,
RFP
change.
refresh again, because it just can, does it change that fluidly? Sometimes it does. I mean, it can be very dramatic, and where it can change depending on, you know, weather conditions or market, whatever happens on that. But the reality is that's how we're forced to get you the best possible price, but it's all, again, through the RFP process.
So, I'm gonna demonstrate my stupidity here. Tell me again what your relationship is with CCAO and why what this is all about?
Sure.
Because I'm confused.
So-
I mean, we have an organization, our maintenance department, I negotiate with my power company all the time, and I know that I've got an opportunity to get a one-year leveraged kind of a thing. I talk to the, you know, state PUCO and say, hey, what's the best deal, da-da-da-da-da, and I sign my contract and away I go.
Sure.
Why are we doing this? I'm confused.
Absolutely. So, CCAO has a Service Corps Board of Directors, which is made up of our commissioners. There's 35 who serve on that. And they told us to go forth and create a program to leverage the purchasing power of the counties. And as you heard, we have about 60 participating already in this energy purchasing program. And there were a couple of key components that they said to be sure to put together when we created the program. One is find an independent energy consultant that is not affiliated in any way with any suppliers or isn't trying to sell a certain product or service, right? So independence and expertise, and that's where we have an agreement with Palmer Energy to help us issue the RFPs and provide guidance around the program. We also have an energy executive committee that consists of some facility experts, some county administrators, and some commissioners who have expertise in the energy, and anybody who is in our program gets a seat at the table, and then we have an executive committee of that group. So there's a lot of involvement and ownership of the CCAO and its membership in this energy program. Does that answer?
How many counties are involved, did you say?
60?
Yeah, there's over
in
60
the-
electricity, a little over 60 in gas.
Yeah.
And then there's 28 in government aggregation. So I mean, it's substantial. The other good thing about this program is it has been beneficial for counties of all sizes. All the large counties participate, the medium-sized counties participate, the small counties participate. Even there's counties out there that have full-time energy managers and they're still participating in this
So
purchase.
how do we know, is there metrics being kept to know that we're in fact getting a good deal? And what that deal is, and, because there's a cost to using these guys, right? And to having all of the commissioners and da-da-da-da, and all the bureaucracy around doing all of this. And
There's
so,
really not a whole lot in the way of bureaucracy. It's the competitive process by which Palmer was selected. And then we use them to advise, and we have, obviously, when we ask to have our annual board meeting and then the Energy Executive Committee, those are conference calls, and none of those folks are compensated. They're choosing to be a part of a program that they've helped create.
Okay.
So we don't really have much in the way of a bureaucracy around this program. It's very nimble, and there are several competitive factors and things that we monitor. If you want to talk a little bit about the
Sure.
reports that we do for participants.
Yeah, definitely. One thing is that the energy committee that she's talking about right now is made up of commissioners and facilities managers located around this area. Actually, if you're familiar with Chuck Clough at Lake County, Chuck's on the energy committee. Gerard Solomon from Cuyahoga County's on that as well. There's a guy from Lorain County, and there's people from, you know, various aspects of all the counties throughout, located in various areas of the state that participate on an active basis. What we do, again, it keeps coming back to the RFP process. I RFP out your electric, and historically, it's what we try to do is put you into larger bid packages. So the natural gas program has, you know, we put out 60 counties to RFP to the various suppliers and get back the best deals. Now, to give you an example, what's changed over the years, we got involved with the CCO Service Corp in 2009. There was one supplier throughout the state of Ohio at that point, and there were 29 counties participating. We now have 4 suppliers that are supplying various areas of the state, and that's important because what may be good down in the Hamilton County area is certainly not good up in the Geauga County Lake area, and what is probably not good in the Lucas County area. So we had to RFP out the different sections and give that kind of, you know, credence to the program, that recognizing that suppliers are different in every other area. Plus, suppliers' prices change as you gain, you know, more capacity or less capacity in the market. Your prices go up and down at that particular point. So we RFP that out. Now, I do not make any decisions for you. I give you recommendations. I tell you what I think you should be doing based on market conditions. And then what happens in the natural gas is the natural gas committee that is made up of the individuals that we talked about is actually making these decisions on your marketing or the suppliers for the natural gas. And then at times when we want to lock in various volumes for, say, the summer, the coming winter and those kind of things, they're making those decisions for you. Electric's a little bit of a different type of deal. We do try to do larger bid packs with that. And if once you're, call it, in this program, the next time you're around, you'll be with 15 or 20 counties when we're RFPing this out. Right now, you're just out there right now because we want to get you some savings immediately because there's substantial savings out there. But it still comes back down to the process that we discussed with the RFP refresh, getting the prosecutor to approve the agreements, having a refresh date at that point to give you what the best price is. Then we analyze those bids that come in to give an apples to apples approach. And to her point on our independents out there, Mark and I own the company. It's been around since '81. He bought in the early '90s. I bought in about 10 years ago to the company on that. We're an independent consultant. We do go down and testify at the Public Utilities Commission very frequently on various cases. We are on your side out there. We are on your constituent side to get you the best possible deals out there. It does not mean that utilities are bad. Utilities are out there for a person. It doesn't mean that suppliers are bad. They're out there for a reason as well. But we need to be out there to make sure that you're getting the best possible deal that we can do that. And through the RFP process, we're able to do that. The other thing that goes hand in hand with this is we can work with Glenn to get you budgets on an annual basis to show what you're going to be using or what you're going to be paying for estimated quantities, because obviously the weather changes. I can't do anything with the weather. I wish I could, but can't do that. We would give out budgets and we give out a savings analysis, and this is what you saved last year on your particular program. And again, right now, based on historical volumes for your electricity, you're right around $6,000 a month in savings if you participate on this program. And you've already taken the one step of signing on with the CCAO program. We just have to get you the supplier now that you go through that one.
What's the, I don't know, escape clause? If we do this deal and for some reason we don't like it as a county, you know, whatever, what's the duration? Is it a 3-year, 5-year contract? Is it a year to year?
The deal with the supplier right now is a 3-year deal, and the reason for that we're recommending a 3-year deal, we all know that a lot of the commodity prices are depressed right now. You know, we're swimming in a world of oil, we're swimming in a world of natural gas. Electricity right now is the fluctuating price is the natural gas commodity. You know, they've got their coal price, they've got their nuclear price, the swag fuel is the natural gas at this point. And when you have that as your, call it your swag fuel, and you've got depressed pricing, we see good pricing right now going out 3 years. I wish I could go out a little bit farther actually for you, but it just doesn't make sense to do that based on what can change at the PUCO or a FERC level basis. So 3 years seems to be a very safe area on there. We could do 1- and 2-year agreements. I still don't recommend that because I still look at some point here, these commodity prices are going to turn around. And then in turn, when natural gas turns around, goes a little bit higher, your electric prices are gonna go higher. And I would rather you lock in that lower generation cost right now to save you money for as long as we can at this point. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because commodities are at record low prices, if you
Yeah.
will, at least in modern times. And, yeah, you wanna do it that way. If we were up at some skyrocketing prices, then you might wanna do a year-to-year basis to speculate on prices dropping.
Well, I don't like to speculate, Bert, we don't do any of that.
Well,
I agree, and, you know, every market condition changes dramatically. We are at lower prices in the natural gas market, there's no question about it. Could we go lower? Sure, absolutely. And there's a very good chance that we're gonna be there. You know, coming out of this winter, we're at substantially higher storage levels with natural gas in the ground at this point than we historically are. We have a cool summer, you're gonna see the prices on natural gas go dramatically lower. Dramatically to me may not be your same definition of dramatic, but it could go down substantially. And that being said, you and I can sit here and wait for 6 months for the price to go on, and you just lost 36 grand. Yeah, I mean, it's that simple of a mathematical equation on it. So those are things that we have to look at on this type of approach. But once you sign the agreement, you're locked in for that 2-3 year period.
it's a fixed period.
It's in the electricity purchasing program, it's a fixed period. It's a fixed price for a fixed period. Natural gas is a little bit different with that committee. They do some hedging. The reason we really don't do hedging per se in electricity, we do it in some limited basis areas, is that, again, the price of electricity can just go up so dramatically, so quickly, that your risk associated with electricity is you can throw your savings out in one day if you don't have the right agreement and the right protections. So it's just much better, in our opinion, for the counties to do these longer-term agreements.
So, a couple things. First of all, we're not part of this now. So what we're talking about is signing up for this.
Well,
Decided.
yeah,
Okay.
and so the question is, are you ready to lock in on this particular deal?
With the
Yeah,
suppliers.
we're
With the suppliers.
already signed up with you folks. The problem is a legal question between our prosecutor and the suppliers, that needs to get ironed out.
You're signed up with the CCO Service Corps program, correct?
Right.
Don't, it's not me, it's
Right,
their
okay,
program.
right.
Yeah,
And so we've had recommendations from the experts that we hire to help make decisions. And it's time to either move forward or we need to stop going out for bid. Because I think we've done this several times.
Yes.
And then we're not taken seriously, I think, in the market if we're going out for bid a lot but never getting to it.
And the ball's in our court, so to speak,
Yeah,
right now.
so-
The hang up or whatever it is language.
Right, and these are contracts that we hired an attorney for us, as CCA Service Corp, to help create the template. There are some points where we can have some flexibility, as Kirk alluded to. There are other areas where the suppliers would not sign.
Right.
If we were to amend. So we just have to sit down and go through line by line and figure out what those concerns
Okay.
are, which parts could be negotiable, and which parts, because of the market we're in, would not be, and get that resolved as soon as possible, because we really can't keep the cycle that we've got now. I
You're
think
gonna do that at 1?
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah, we're gonna sit down with Laura.
Sit down
and-
with
and-
Laura.
And then I'll come back to you, to the board individually and say that these are the concerns Laura had. You know, and you can weigh, you know, and we'll get some more input. There's other counties that have signed these documents, so that's part of what you need to understand is, you know, our
Well-
prosecutor does a great job of protecting the board. And at some point though, sometimes just what you may be asking for may be beyond what the other side's willing to accept.
We're recognized as a conservative county.
Yep.
And that's wonderful.
Yep.
But when you wanna play somebody else's game, sometimes you have to play by their rules.
Yep.
Or accept some of their rules for that.
We got 2 contracts back right now. They've been through the prosecutors. We got those, and at 1 o'clock we're gonna sit down. They sit with the prosecutor.
Different suppliers now, I can play a game again with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But.
Well, one was
No, I
Nordic,
saw that.
so.
Nordic's one.
Right, so.
There seems to be one sticking point. The other issues seem to be relatively minor, and I think there's ways to talk. But I think the big sticking point right now is seems that she wants the ability to, anytime that you want out of this agreement, you can just get out of the agreement. That, you know, when a supplier locks in a price for you, they're actually going out on the market and locking in the price. And 6 months down the road, you can just say, nope, we want out of this, we're gonna go somewhere else at that point. That's not how these deals work. And to a very simple thing on that, again, it pains me to say I'm agreeing with the supplier on this, but if you go to an agreement with them for 3 years or 2 years or whatever that agreement period happens to be, you need to uphold your end of the bargain. And that's where I see.
Because they're making a commitment.
They're making a commitment. They have financial obligations that they're putting in place for you on your behalf to provide electricity at this. You need to pay them for that side of the agreement.
Name a supplier for me.
The ones that we're looking at here will be Dynegy, Nordic, Mid-American, AEP.
And none of those guys actually produce electricity.
I'm sure they do. AEP.
Or are they buying electricity from First Energy and those guys that actually have power plants? Or am I in line?
Well, AEP certainly has different power plants. I believe Dynegy has certain power plants around and everything. Yeah, some of these are called marketers. Some of them are actual generating.
Dynegy is not an Ohio company, is it? Or?
It was previously Duke Supply.
Duke
side.
Supply.
Yeah,
Duke, they bought Duke, which is Cincinnati.
Yes.
And again, those are decisions that you need to make for me. I just give you what the pricing matrices are out there and tell you this is what it is, this is your best deal.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you guys choose to go on that direction or not is up to you at that point.
The reason that I am trying to I'm trying to add up one in my head here. Because maybe I'm just an old paradigm and I can't get over it. You know, First Energy used to be our public utility before it was First Energy. And they put in a wire and they ran the power to your house.
Yeah.
It is not that simple for me. You've got
Absolutely.
all these guys out there today who are basically marketers of power. They don't really produce power. They just cut a deal and make arrangements. But I worked in the power industry with First Energy as a consultant for a little while. And they spool up and create a certain amount of power based on past performance, past requirements, with a little fudge factor. And they're producing that power. And that's just what it is, and they're gonna produce it, and so there's no additional cost to them. They're producing it at that level, and so.
But they did not bid this.
No, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is, well, they did, because it goes into the grid, and the grid doesn't differentiate power, right?
Oh, no, they did. They certainly did not respond to this RFP.
No, you missed my point. I'm not trying to argue with you. Again, my
It's the whole
paradigm.
electric deregulation
Yeah,
and the
my-
complexity that comes with.
The actual physical delivery process
Retail.
is, you got power companies that put power into the grid.
Call it paper shuffle?
And so that's right, it's the paper shuffle at the end of the day, because power is what it is. And it's a very, it's a very fragile thing. You don't, people say save power, you don't save power, you put it in your pocket. It's produced and you use it. Either you use it or you lose it. And so, it's produced, it's put into the grid, you know, Duke does it, First Energy does it, they're all pumping this into the grid, and then people get credits or however that's done. It's very confusing to me. So it's just a little different paradigm that I'm trying to get my head around in terms of how these guys play with that power that's out there in the grid. Some of it they produce, some of it they sell from whoever produced it and put it on the grid. So am I getting that right?
Well, what you have is that in this deregulated society, and if you want to use First Energy's case, they've got their deregulated side, which is First Energy Solutions,
Right.
versus the regulated side, which in your case is CEI, or Toledo Edison, wherever you want to go on that side. The First Energy Solutions is out there actively selling some power supplies out there, that's correct, and they're also selling power supplies in the market through auction processes and everything else. I understand your point on, yes, it's all thrown in there, there is no electricity that's saved. We don't have these monstrous battery banks. Our battery banks are, you know, natural gas turbine plants that can spin up on the moment's notice to take care of that additional need on the system at that particular point. It is a very complex thing, you're right, they're on who's buying what, but it is based on, you know, the PUCOs behind these agreements, the FERC is doing all of this, so they're the ones that are putting all these things into place in order to provide you electricity. Now, what we're able to do here through PUCO and state law over the years is your third-party supplies for what you're actually using. Now, we're not talking the lines right outside your deal, we're talking about the electricity itself. You're able to go out there and competitively bid the process to get you the best possible price out there.
Well, the reason for bringing that up, well, it appeared to be a stupid question, and maybe it was if you have a clause in it that allows you to get out of it, for example, I have a contract in my home, and I have a termination clause, and that says I can terminate anytime I want to. I get a deal, it's a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, I forget now, but I can terminate anytime I want to. And the reason I can terminate is because it really creates no harm. And so the question I have, the reason for kind of trying to get my head around that,
Creates no harm for who, Commissioner?
for the supplier, the guy that's producing electricity, because they're producing that quantity of power at some, based on some past historic performance. They're not saying, oh, Claypool plugged in his hair dryer, and now I need to produce more power. They have to be able to design their system to produce at a certain level, and so that's their cost. So they build the cost into the price based on what that historic demand is, and then they go out there and they try to shuffle that around, and so, or sell that around. So if we've got a contract with them, which says a 2-year thing, 2-year deal, and I don't know why we put a escape clause in it, but I'm assuming it's because maybe there's a better deal out there, and so we would want to be able to get out of that, and or we're not getting power, or lights are going out, or some other reason why we'd have that escape clause. But I don't know the harm in having the escape clause in there, because either you're doing a good job and we won't want to escape, we won't have the termination, or you aren't doing a good job, and in which case, if we terminated, it wouldn't be a big deal, because there's not really harm to this.
Commissioner, there is an escape clause out of it. You can get out of it, but you're gonna pay for the power that you said I want to lock in.
We're gonna sign a contract, it's no different than we sign somebody to plow our driveway out here. We sign an annual contract and we say we're gonna pay them this much money, and we're gonna pay them if it snows or it doesn't snow, that much money till the end of the contract.
Well, in this case, though, it's a little bit different than that from the standpoint of their full requirements agreements. Whether you use 2.6 million kilowatt hours or 3.2 million kilowatt hours, we have the same price negotiated here.
Right, same cost per kilowatt hour.
Correct.
To me, it's like, the decision is we either agree to, in this case, save approximately $6,000 a month.
Correct.
I mean, I wouldn't go to the electric chair on a number, but it's a significant number annually. But we need to conform to the rules or to the agreement that our supplier brings forward. They're not holding a gun to our head. We can just walk away from the whole thing and pay more money.
Well, and I can tell you that if you chose to cross that part of the agreement out where you're gonna have the option to get out at any point, you won't find one supplier that's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna agree to those terms.
Yeah,
They're going out there and they're financially saying at that point, they're locking in those prices for you. This isn't, I don't want to put in this perspective, but they're not locking in 1,000 kilowatt hours. They're locking in millions of kilowatt hours on your behalf. They're putting their necks out on the line to have that show up and be delivered. I believe that you owe it to them to pay them for that usage. And if they are not competitive the next time around, then they'll lose the business next time around. But it's not quite as simple as saying that they're gonna make money anyways or on it if you don't provide them the service. There's a lot of kilowatt hours here.
Is that $216,000 over the life of the contract, roughly? Isn't it 72,000 times 3?
Actually, thanks for that response, because one and one are adding up here a little bit now. It was 3, now it's 2, so I think.
What's
we're
2?
good.
What do you?
He's not getting me.
I got
You got me. 'Cause-
1 and 1 is getting to 2 now.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. See, I was having a little disconnect.
So
in
our
terms of putting things
decision
together,
is what we
but-
tell the prosecutor
But I
what we want.
think I'm
We either want
understanding now. So.
Well, I'm gonna come back and say, these are the parts of the contract is laid out to us that our prosecutor finds a little bit problematic. This happens in a variety of things, and you guys have to.
Yeah, well, in a
Is that
perfect
a
world,
risk?
yeah, I'd like to be able to buy it and sell it on a daily basis and play that game. But if I go out and lease a car, they quote me a price, I don't get to turn
No.
it back in or in 2 years renegotiate the thing if it's a 3-year lease. I just,
I mean, we're paying current market right now,
Yeah.
and we're not committed, but that means we're losing
so,
$6,000.
well, and so if it changes, well, it won't change, but
When does this take effect?
as soon as we sign
That,
it.
That
As soon as we
depends
start.
more on you than me at this point.
So when it's signed, then it's immediate, the fact it doesn't
Well,
start in
you know, you have
a
to get
month, 6
everything
months,
based on
whatever.
on your read dates. It could be 4 to 6 weeks later on, depending on when your read date is. But yes, if you would get this going right now, obviously, your summer months are when you use the most electricity based upon the heating and, the cooling costs. We would have that by the summer. If you choose not to do it now, we can do it later, but you are, and yes, that, the 6,000 a month is an estimation based upon your historical usage. It's the best guess that I can say to it. Based upon your historical usage, I'm estimating this. If we have a really, really hot summer, it's gonna be higher than that. If we have a cool summer, it's gonna be a little bit lower than that, because you're not using as much power.
Who else included? Is it just county offices?
We have approximately 13 buildings, accounts throughout the county. Basically just ours, Sheriff's Center, 470, the Annex Courthouse, County Home, and all those areas.
Like Water Resources does their own, right? And they use a lot of power, especially.
So why would they not be under our umbrella?
Well, historically, they've managed their own because they're using it in an enterprise fund. And it's not to say that down the line they couldn't be. I don't know if you have other county utility
It's a county
departments that do.
decision, how
Yeah.
many facilities you bring to the table.
Right.
And you are the
Would that
contract
change-
authority for the county,
Would
so.
that change the contract, or can we?
We
I
gotta look
don't-
and see what Water Resources may be in the middle of a contract.
They are in the middle of it.
Yeah, so whether you want to ever make those align again in the future is completely up to you. So some counties have kept everybody coordinated and orchestrated such that all the facilities are in our program. Others have not, and you have a few buildings or facilities that have moved ahead and gone a different direction. So we've seen a little bit of everything out there. So what you're telling me isn't surprising. There are other counties I've been to where they have a facility or two that are on a different cycle or already are in a deal. So we take the facilities that aren't in a deal and save you some money with those.
And then other facilities, if their deal's up in 1 year, we can add them. We can actually RFP it out right now. You can sign on their behalf for that later on. And then they're up to that price the year 2 and 3. They're all over the place. The vast majority of the county facilities seem to be in the program for all the counties, but there are cases, as Suzanne's talking about, there are some facilities that aren't in there. Maybe a sheriff did his own thing, maybe a water treatment plant did their own thing, or whatever else, but that's.
So the way the contract is constructed, are there named entities then? I mean, you actually have facilities named in the contract?
Oh, absolutely.
You got X, Y, Z. It's
Yeah.
not Geauga County and
We're
we
using existing electric
We're using existing
contracts.
data.
Or I mean, existing accounts.
Right, there's gonna be one of the part pages in the actual agreement will list out every facility and their estimated usage on that, without question.
You mentioned other issues with the prosecutor. You said they were minor. This was the major one?
I think that's it. The other ones, I think they're, and we could talk about it, but like identification, automatically, these supplier agreements all have that in there, and I know counties don't like that. I get it. I can't get it out unless you're serious about signing an agreement with that supplier. They just don't do it. Their lawyers don't. We've tried to get these lawyers of these multi-billion-dollar corporations have a government contract. They will not do it until they're ready. And I don't, in many cases, these companies, those people don't care if they're gonna get this work or not. Obviously, their local sales rep may, or does want this work, but when it comes to the higher echelons of the legal fees, they don't really care or not. It doesn't seem if they're gonna get it or not, so it's one of those deals.
Well, where do we go from here?
We're gonna meet at 1 o'clock.
You're gonna meet him at in an
Yeah.
hour.
All we ask is your leadership that we get kind of that final answer so that we aren't staying.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't have a problem with if we sign that 1-year contract, 2-year contract, 3-year contract, that we abide by the conditions of that contract for that period of time. I mean, the fact that we can back out 18 days into the program or some ridiculous number or whatever is, to me, that's like stacking the deck and that's not the way the world works. It's an agreement, it's an agreement that's.
You can try, right?
That's right. I mean, yeah, the world does work that way, Blake, sometimes.
Well, they put their best deal on the table, we like it or we don't like it, and then we go. I mean,
logic tells me that you're gonna get a better discount when you commit for a period of time. If you said someone else is buying that, they're committing. If you're not willing to do that, you're not gonna get the same
Well-
discount as somebody who does.
They have certain expenses that they have to cover, and
What
a
if we-
predicted revenue source is something that helps them to adjust their
what if we do a
games up.
1-year deal instead of a 3-year deal, and in a year, the price goes up? Then how smart were we then?
And we're rolling the dice. That's
I
right.
mean,
And that's
it's-
why we
that's-
hire
that's-
experts, to tell us what should be
So we fire them.
the average. Well, it's us you would fire, let's
So
be
how-
clear, but.
How are they compensated?
There,
Palmer?
if you wanna go, if we can talk a little bit about the administrative.
Yeah, there's a 1 mil fee, which is 1/10 of 1 cent per kilowatt hour included in this. But I split that with Suzanne, I'm not, this for their program, so I'm
Really?
really.
How's
not
your
con-
house? Did you get a nice house? A little boat?
Oh,
It's not a
yeah.
Free
Not
electricity?
exactly a personal check,
Yeah.
but it goes to the service corp for other programs and.
It offsets our costs as well as theirs, but I will tell you, if you try to arrange this level of commitment and expertise in other areas, there are counties that aren't in ours, and I think you'll find that our rate is very competitive. So,
We've been very happy with our healthcare, and you guys help set that up. Yeah,
Of course.
And I'm gonna trust Glenn and Dave, because at the end of the day, those are the experts.
and I understand you got some good course of renewal information as well for property liability and casualty. And, you know, when we say those programs, it's you all, I mean, it's a member-driven organization. And so the strength comes from your engagement.
Essentially, you work for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not
Not just
do.
us.
There's no essentially
Yeah,
kind
I mean-
of,
I mean,
yes,
I'm okay with it, and I'm okay if we are not allowed to back out of the contract on a daily basis. If we sign for 24 months or 36 months, then yeah, is it a gamble? Yeah.
Let me ask you, this is a goofy question, given my past experience in contracts. Is it ever heard of that you have a clause that allows an escape or a termination with an extended period of time? In other words, we might make the decision 6 months later, which gives the company then a chance to adjust. Is that something that is ever done? I'm asking more for curiosity. I'm kind of Blake's side on this, but.
You know, you can do anything, you can ask for anything in these agreements. I think the vast majority of the suppliers are saying, no, we don't want to do that, this is what you're asking for. What you're asking for partially there is more of a, I call it a hedge on your electricity, the opportunity to lock in volumes.
Mhm.
We can do that, I don't think that's in your best interest right now. I mean, you have a hot summer this year, prices go up, you just lost any savings you ever thought you had, that sort of thing. You could do a 1-year contract, if that's the direction you think you're going. I would say do a 1 year, which I still don't agree with. That's not my recommendation remotely here. You should go in a 3-year deal here from my perspective based on where the market's conditions currently lie. But if you ask for an out clause like that, you can get out of these contracts anytime you want. You're just gonna pay the termination fees and the penalties associated with that. Now, I have never recommended that to anything. I never will recommend that. And in addition to that, I've never seen a case where it makes financial sense to even remotely do that. Just there's too many penalties.
Normally, the penalties are way too high.
Well, the penalties are way too high, and it's back to the other thing too of if you choose to wait a few months on this, that, say that $18,000 in savings, you know, this market, your price isn't all of a sudden gonna just go in half. It's not gonna, we're pretty low right now compared to where the price is at.
I was gonna say that if you were to look at the profile for the last 5 years or whatever, we're down in here versus.
It's a good time.
I would go out longer, I mean, but if you could at some level, but there's certain, you know, you have state regulations through PUCO, you don't know where it's gonna be like too far out. You have FERC regulations that may come, you just don't wanna, 3 years seems to be a pretty good thing right now to go for on that.
Okay. I'm with Blake, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, you hire experts and you let them do their job. You start to second guess the experts, then, you know, next thing you know, you're slitting your wrists or something. I'd say we go with
We've
that.
had the program for many years, as he
Yeah,
said, and it's had a good track record.
we're not a guinea
for us.
pig here, you're doing it, and, yeah, well, it's new and we may feel like the guinea pig, we aren't, you know, I mean, you guys have other case history, and we rely on you folks who've shopped around, got the best proposals from the various companies, these were the successful bidders, and we go from there. And as far as my input to the prosecutor's office is, we do what's normal. I mean, you know what I'm saying, it's like, if you, like he said, if we can put it in there, we can drop out, sign today, drop out tomorrow, but it might cost us a lot of money.
Right.
And I don't see a advantage in doing that. I'd go with whatever the recommendation is. If it's, my input to you, it's different, Ralph's not here. But my input is the 3-year deals, what they're quoting, and we can
Well, I'll
save
talk to
around
each-
$6,000 a month, and
Yeah.
I don't, you know, it could be $598 one month, it could be $607 the next, or something.
Depends on the temperature, right?
Yeah.
Well, and when you're using it.
Right.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Any other business? We can adjourn this?
I think we can.
Thank you for coming. Oh, that's a question?
Is there opportunity for a public question?
Yes.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
State your name for the record, please.
How do I, as a citizen of Geauga County, sign on to this deal? No, I'm serious, because this is an overall market question. You're taking energy out of the market as a group, you're saving money as a group, that saving is gonna be made up someplace else, and I think I'm the one paying.
So, Susan, can you respond to
Well, I
that?
think generally the government aggregation programs are available for trying to pool purchasing power for individuals, so.
How is this different than
Public
the township
Utilities
program I'm
Commission.
involved in? There's gotta be a Chardon Township, or what, you know, Troy Township has a
An aggregation.
power
Talking about
aggregate
NOPEC?
agreement.
Talking about NOPEC, I believe.
It's a
Yeah, I think that's-
buying,
Aggregation program.
Yeah, the PUC apples to apples program for individuals versus facilities or businesses has the apples to apples comparison where you're essentially able to decide whether you want to do for gas, they have some that are fixed and some that are variable.
Right, and there's
rate.
some areas, and the CCO does have a government aggregation program. There's 27 counties currently participating in that program. I don't know, it's somewhere around 150, 160,000 households in the state or in her program, somewhere in that general area, that we go out for RFP process again to get the best possible prices. Now, that's a little bit of longer term. If you have not passed that, you have to pass that through the constituents. That yes, we want our commissioners to put us together and put us out to RFP, but that there are ways to do that. And I'm
For
sure
individuals, there are two methods. One
Right.
is government aggregation, which requires the vote.
Correct.
And it can be a group of political subdivisions or county or
So townships have that.
Townships.
Town-
have the
Townships,
ability.
it could be townships,
And then
it
the
could be
second way
cities.
is to go on to the PUCO apples to apples and pick one through that mechanism as well. Those are the two ways
well,
that I know
it's
of.
just a philosophy that I have, that anytime government gets its hands in anything, costs go up. And lo and behold, I believe that's the net effect. They're
And-
going down for you, but system-wide, I believe they'll go up. Right, I'm done. That's all I have to say.
Well, let me respond to that, and because I have the experts here, they can, and I'm with you, generally speaking, I'm not a big government guy, even though I'm part of government. And Susan knows this, because we've had many conversations on this. But in this regard, the way that the mechanic, and again, I'm saying this out of school, so I have this much experience in the power industry, which I respect highly, because having gone through some of those power plants, they are awesome. Watching how they produce power is an awesome thing. But with that said, when they produce power, based on consumption, expected, predicted rates that they've already produced. And so they're looking out into the future and they say, okay, we got this much power now we're consuming X amount of power today. If they can get that on a predicted basis, in other words, when you're in business, if you've got expected revenue, it's cheaper for you with that expected revenue. You have to put more money into sales and marketing, doing all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of like an expected commodity. that's good for the citizens because our rate goes down. The citizens actually save money because we're now committing to the power company, from this supplier, we're gonna buy from you supplier at this rate. That's better for them because now they can, because they're able to predict that income, that revenue, they're able to give us that better rate based on that prediction. That doesn't impact the rate at which they charge the public, because that rate, which is different, because it's, on again, off again. You could choose tomorrow to do business with Y company or X company or Z company or whatever. So those companies are trying to create some sort of a consolidated purchasing profile so that they can predict what their income is and what their expenses associated with an income have to be. We're just making it better or cheaper for this particular supplier so that they now have a more stable business, so to speak. But it doesn't, I don't think it impacts anybody else.
Well, another way to look at it, and I don't disagree with your questioning, but we're spending your money. Okay? So how does it affect you? Well, if we can save $72,000 a year out of the general fund, that's $72,000 a year that we may not have to come back to the voters as soon to pay for something else. It's not like your house, you say your electric rate may go up, mine might go up. I'm an individual, you're an individual. We're looking at the county purchasing, and where your paycheck or my paycheck pays for my electric bill, our taxes, yours, mine, theirs, everybody else pays for this one. So we try to, in government, we try to, economy of scale, we're trying to, what's the best deal we can get for our taxpayers? It's not us individually. If we can save $72,000 annually out of the general fund, we would be negligent if we didn't at least try and do it, because it's going to operate, the county's going to operate more efficiently. Now, I'm not naive, and neither are you. We're not going to send you a refund. We're going to find a place to spend that $72,000.
He's going to spend it. I'm going to try and give you a refund.
I'd love to do that. I'm just saying.
I'll support that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that unfortunately, because of inflation and costs go up and so on and so forth, I mean.
Well, I find it standard economics. I'm in business, I do contracts, I understand it.
Right.
I understand the fixed cost element to it. I understand the variable cost of writing an invoice to me versus writing one to the whole county and so on and so forth. But, just a philosophical question, if this amount of regulation is good and saves money, why not more? You're struggling for balance, and I understand that.
Yeah, I don't think this is a
Ultimately, I
regulatory thing so
support
much
it.
as this is more of a purchase contract. How do we get smart in how we're purchasing our power? We're not really
Is that thing
regulating.
still on?
No, you've got to do what you've got to do here. I recognize that. This is, a little commentary that I brought to it.
I mean, I used to heat with fuel oil because I didn't have natural gas. I would have two options: electricity, fuel oil, or wood and coal. And I noticed that I had a 275-gallon fuel tank, and when I fill that tank in May, June, July, it was the lowest it was annually. And it was 275 gallons of fuel oil, or 1 gallon of fuel oil that provided so many BTU. But then in January, I'd pay 50 cents more a gallon for the same heat, a gallon of fuel oil. So I got the grand idea that, well, why don't I just buy a couple thousand gallons in May, June, or July? Which I did, and I saved significant amounts of money. I had a couple of pitfalls there, but that was weather related. But there was a time when you'd buy it in July, and the price would go down. Now I think that only happened once, but because fuel oil was the commodity, and finally I just had to bite the bullet and go to a geothermal all-electric home.
Electricity is somewhat of a commodity. but there's so much fixed cost, fixed investment, fixed everything that's in there. You know, it has its own little niche of economic study. But I suppose the follow-up question here, again, I say, I know what you have to do, and you're gonna go ahead and do it. And that's fine to save the money, you know, obviously I've got an eye on that as well. But are you gonna take some steps to see if you can go beyond the tax saving? There won't be any tax savings. There's no savings to the citizenry. That's a fixed cost, you know. You guys are a fixed
Oh,
cost.
I didn't say we're gonna lower your taxes, I said we're gonna spend
No,
less
but
money
save
out of the
money is
general
an
fund.
illusion. It's, you know, it's a shell game. You go from shell 1 to shell 2 within here in the county. It'll get spent, all right? But given the idea that this concept saves money for you, what are you guys gonna do to try and see if you can't get some savings in it for us?
So you want government involved in your life, so we can come
well,
and,
it seems to be a good thing.
I don't know that we
No.
we have a license to do that.
Well, I think the government aggregation is what you're talking about, which seems to be the program that your township
Yeah.
has done, which is the group purchasing.
I mean, it's
for our
come too
concept.
far
Is
to
that
turn
the
back.
NOPEC thing? I get confused.
You're not gonna-
about
you're not
it.
gonna turn
Well,
back.
NOPEC is the one I'm familiar with, and most of the townships in Geauga are members of NOPEC.
Well, the prosecutor, I know he's involved in
He's
that.
on the NOPEC board.
He's on the board,
And
yeah.
understand the
That's
process.
insignificant. The savings, I've looked at it, the savings that are available through those group buying things are absolutely insignificant there at that level. I don't know what the savings are. What kilowatt hour, by the way, are you gonna charge the county? What rate? Well, they're gonna actually pay for electricity. I never heard that number.
The kilowatt hour per unit cost?
What
I don't
is-
have that right in front of me right now, sir.
At the end of the day, when the county writes out their check, and they get the kilowatt hours times hours,
Right, I don't have that right in front of me.
okay.
Well, when you,
I'd be real interested to see how that compares to my own bill at home.
It's lower, it's a lot lower.
it's gonna be a lot lower, but the other factor is that you spend or use a couple thousand kilowatt hours a month. Okay, so obviously if you save, you could be buying it at the same rate we are, and our number's gonna be higher because we're buying
Oh, sure.
tens of thousands
Of
of
course.
kilowatt hours a month. So we have to
And the more
remember
you buy,
that.
the cheaper it gets. That's basic economics.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, so, but we have to get going here, because
I'm
they have
done.
another meeting, so.
I'm done.
Okay. We move to adjourn. 14, whatever